Hey, Penrith City Chapel, and welcome to this week's The Spur, where we want to spur one another on towards love and to good deeds, as it says in Hebrews chapter 10. And we've been in a series called Tools for Mission, and this is, I think, week 5, the second last week actually, and talking about tools for mission. That's why I've been doing these in the garage, because I've got a few tools in the garage and it just looks a little bit more like the tool shed rather than standing outside with a prettier background. But that'll be in a couple of weeks' time. But for this series, Tools for Mission, we're talking about what do we need to do mission. And there are some things that we need. And the first one is, I think where it begins from is our testimony. It's our response to God's love for us. He loved us first. And how we respond to that and what God has done in my life, what he's done in your life as well, our testimony, that we can actually tell others about what God has done and tell others about his great love and how we've responded and how we've received that and what difference that has made in our life. And then the second tool was our love for God. So the first one, testimony, it's his love for us and how we've responded. But the second tool is a love for God, that we do mission because we love God. We do lots of things because we love maybe certain people, like we might love our families, so we want to give our best to our families. We might love our wives, or if you have a husband, you want to love them and you do things for them, for your kids, for those that you love. There are ways that we act. There are things that we do to help them and encourage them and spur them on and want to believe the best for their life. And so that's that love for God is what flows out from us and what we need when we're sharing mission, when we're doing mission, when we're telling others about Jesus. We do it from a place of loving God. And then the third tool is a love for others. And if we don't love people, then we'll actually probably not do a whole lot of mission. But when we truly do love people, have a concern for people, have compassion for people, when we see people doing it tough and going through hard times, being discouraged, being beaten down, whatever it is, there's compassion that's in us to want to help and to want to show the love of God to others as well. So it's our testimony, it's a love for God, it's a love for others. And last week we talked about the tool, if we like, and I don't like to call this one a tool because it's a person, the Holy Spirit. We need a helper who helps us now to actually walk this life of mission out. And so you can go back and have a look at those other messages for a little bit more detail around those. But today I want to talk about the fifth tool that we need, and that's a Great Commission. Now, each of the Gospels have some version or each of the Gospel writers, let me say it that way, have some version of the Great Commission. And we read it most often from Matthew chapter 28. And I want to read that and just walk that through a little bit in these couple of minutes. Matthew chapter 28 starts off with Jesus saying these words, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me." Now, let's just stop there for a second. Jesus is saying all authority on heaven and on earth. Now, when you have a think about that, that's a lot of authority. I might have certain authority in some spaces. Maybe it's in my workplace, or maybe you have authority to make decisions and to do certain things in the context of your work or school or whatever it is that you do. But Jesus is saying all authority. He has all authority. So from this point, he can say whatever he likes because he's the one who has all authority in heaven and on earth. And here's what he says after such an amazing, massive statement. He says, "Go, therefore go, and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you, and surely I am with you always to the very end of the age." So Jesus starts with this amazing statement about all authority. And then he says, so now here's what you can go and do on the authority of Jesus. He's given us that authority. And then the last line of that promise is, and I'm going to be with you as you go and as you do this. Now, it's the bit in the middle that I want to talk about going and making disciples, telling others about Jesus and going on that journey with them, teaching people about Jesus, sharing the gospel, telling people and seeing that the gospel really is the power of God to salvation, and knowing that everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved, and also understanding that's the will of God that none should perish. So we have a great commission, and Jesus has called us to this amazing life of living for him and living for people to come to know him. That we would live each day on mission. When we get up in the morning and say a prayer to God, maybe this can be a part of that prayer. Lord, help me to see someone today. Help me to speak to someone today. Help me to pray for someone today. Help me to share the love of Jesus with someone today. If we started each day like that, I reckon we would see more opportunities to do that. But sometimes when we don't start off our day with that kind of focus, other things tend to grab our focus. But let's live with a focus of a great commission, that every day we're called to go and tell others about the love, the grace, the mercy, the forgiveness, the kindness of God. And I think that's an amazing tool that we have. The gospel message is the tool that we have, and the command that we have, the permission that we have. And it's more than permission, it's a commission. It's the mission, it's the command for Jesus to tell us where Jesus tells us to go. And so let's go and tell others about Jesus. God bless you, and bye-bye.